people, even minimum 3 people,
National Assembly and President advised award.
Then the National Assembly subcommittee should advise the president to award those people and honor them. I saw it here personally. The good intention I have for this country up to the level of what it brought into this country.
Because I attended a Gambia project from the Global Fund.
That made the Gambia to get 3 projects from the Global Fund. What caused that is because of the HIV. Because if you have HIV, at that time there was no treatment for it. If your viral load increases up to a level, it can cause TB or malaria for you.
Globally, 3 diseases combined together.
That's why globally they decided to combine these 3 things so that they can fight these 3 diseases. If you look at things in the Gambia here today,
as Global Fund, GFATM.
There are certain vehicles, they have labeling on them called Global Fund, GFATM. They went up to a level of 100 vehicles plus. But me being the reason for those successes and my association Santayala, there's not even a single person amongst us who will say thanks to Allah. It is because of our stand that's what brought this progress for us. Especially myself, who was the leader of the whole group. Because of that, and not only for that, the work I was doing and the program,
because Global Fund
because Global Fund, they used to look at countries who were doing things wrongly.
Because
if you look at it, the amount of money that came into the Gambia for HIV is a lot.
But
things were not being done the way that it was expected.
Support and care for people living with HIV,
the care and support for people living with HIV and AIDS was not done in the right way.
Global Fund funding system will change.
That led to the Global Fund to change its funding system.
Like about 2014-15.
In 2014-15.
Global Fund funding system will change to bring in another new funding model. You can find a new funding model.
Global Fund changed its funding system.
New funding model.
And they introduced what they call the new funding model. And this meant that Gambia had less than it used to have before.
CCM and Action Aid.
For that reason, partners met NAS, CCM, and Action Aid.
Conflicts of interest will be firing global on HIV project.
What I'm telling you is this: there's a lot of conflict of interest in the Global Fund and in the issues of HIV/AIDS.
So
when the amount of money that usually came in decreased,
partner decided to drop because ndolbenu project as an SR.
The partners now decided to drop Santayala from the program because we are in the SR.
The project covering Global Fund round 3.
We were in the project since Global Fund round 3.
The second phase.
Its second phase.
For round 8, the first phase and in second phase.
Until round 8, the first and second phases.
new funding model nata.
That was where the change took place and the new funding model came into being. The money came less than it used to be before.
We had a partner decided to drop from the project as an SR.
So the partners then decided to drop Santayala from the project as an SR. We were not aware.
But
But one of them, an insider, was privy to their AO meeting and he came and informed us. He found us in our office and said to us, Santayala, and we said yes. He said to us, you are seated, but in fact, you should be standing up.
From the project as an SR.
If you don't stand up, they will drop you from the project as an SR. At that same moment, I told my colleagues, you sit down here and wait. I called my driver and told him, let us go straight to Action Aid.
Directly to the Action Aid director.
We went direct to the Action Aid director. To put it to the director that we have had a rumor and tell the person exactly what we heard. Then the director said, well, wait, in that case, this cannot be a discussion the two of us will hold. Please bear with me. Let me call my deputy. He called his deputy and he came. I repeated. And they said, but then that is surprising to them. Because he said at that point in time, they were just on the verge of reviewing the proposals. And at that time, they did not know which associations were to continue in the project and which ones were to be dropped. And for that reason, this statement I just told them is surprising to them. But the deputy said that that would not be a problem for Santayala.
Santayala dropped her from the project.
Even if Santayala were to be dropped from the project,
would the Santayala activities affect neither their salaries?
That wouldn't affect the activities of Santayala, neither their salaries.
Oh, the director of Fanaya Kafukuha, Tonyalum.
And the director added and said, yes, it's true. He said it's true. Because Santayala is an association that has been in this thing for a long time. So I trusted them. I returned back to our office. I told our staff. I said to them, well, today I was the only one who heard it. But tomorrow I want all of us to go and hear it for ourselves. That was how the difficulties started to increase until eventually we were dropped completely out of the project. But then they realized that if Santayala was the only association dropped, that would be very difficult for them to justify.
HIV support group will be dropped.
So PL HIV support groups, all of them were dropped.
We are having activities are best stopped.
And this meant that all the activities that we embarked upon before were stopped.
One monthly meeting.
Except the monthly meeting we had. And the members, the association members were many.
We are home-based care councils to attach different health facilities.
And before we had home-based care councillors that we attached to different health facilities.
Newly diagnosed HIV positive person sensitized council.
Those who used to counsel people who were newly diagnosed with HIV.
Join support group also.
So that they too would join the support group.
Support group afanamu kendi andir laneti.
The support group 2 is also a cure.
Kata kolea tebulu nyawnyani dunta jeduri kajele kwa manke damati ani ni sharing experience with others who pay katnel kolea mumbe kanunga be katala.
Because no matter how difficult it is, once you get in there, you realize that you are not the only one. And once you begin to chat with colleagues, the issue becomes easier for you to live with.
Up to global fund level.
We had a tussle with these partners until the global fund.
Key global fund HIV project of Gambia is full of politics, discrimination, conflicts of interest, and so on and so on.
I wrote a letter to the global fund and I asked them to come because the global fund in the Gambia is politicized, there's so much discrimination, and there is a lot of conflict of interest in it.
Kaburu global for signing December Gambia 2015.
Once that happened, they said to me, we are coming immediately in December 2015. They came. I said to them, when you come, call a meeting so that we could meet.
Well,
since I have been signaled that we don't have much time, I cannot be able to say everything I have in mind. But I want to put this on record, what my difficulties are. That is a residence place. That is why I am not able to fight HIV/AIDS the way I want to do it.
But
I wished that each time I go out on HIV/AIDS sensitization and leave the place, I'll go straight to my house as opposed to going to another person's house.
Gambia Bela ni masakunda kaitandila ko cheno bembule bari I want to
inform the whole Gambia and the entire government that I have a plot of land, but I don't have the means to be able to erect a house for myself. If I can have assistance in that in fact will be able to empower me to be able to fight HIV the way and manner in which I want to fight it.
Present government.
And also, I would like, if this present government,
2001 malong,
or if there would be a new government in 2021,
the present one will continue about malong,
or whether this present government will continue.
But
I want to put it out there to the government that
HIV community,
that we, the PL/HIV community,
rights to become a National Assembly member.
We too have a right to have a representative in the National Assembly.
Because in 2001, this high-level meeting in New York.
Because in 2001, when I went to attend the high-level meeting in New York,
a PL/HIV of a country who do the presentation for his country about HIV in their country.
The PL/HIV representative represented his community.
Ole lotaka presentation about HIV in their country.
And the representative stood and gave a presentation about the HIV situation in their country.
So kamalambela fila foi monsa kundambe siri nabe kontinela wala domu binala yen tolfana nga moto mon kono mumbe kala nye National Assembly member nyin kamala Gambia government finance budget lo nino PL/HIV ole ani la programme ol nin kolya kudolo.
So I would like this government, if it continues, or if there would be a new government to come into place, to allow us as people living with HIV and AIDS to be able to select one amongst us to represent us in the National Assembly.
MRC wala British government yesi kacha nyin kamala mumbati na MRC muruna Gambia la HIV program okono.
I also want to appeal to the government and to ask them to look at ways of engaging the British government so that the MRC would return back to the Gambia here and continue their work they did before into HIV.
Katu ile dabo na program okono.
Because when they took off their hands from our program, that brought a lot of hardship for people living with HIV.
Clinic or treatment center
that brought a lot of difficulty. Some people where they are, for instance, I live in Brikama and I'm taking my treatment in Banjul.
For stigma and discrimination with HIV.
There is nothing which is responsible for that reason except the fact that the stigma and discrimination which is associated with HIV. But what I'm saying like this, if the government could empower us,
experience most of HIV
the experience that I have with HIV, HIV gave me sickness almost 3 times. Those sicknesses, they have stages, and if I were to narrate them to people on the television or radio, many people will attest to the fact that yes, they would have had some of their relatives who suffered from diseases or sicknesses that had those symptoms, and they died.
That will be a way to help us to continue the fight against HIV in the country.
Ani Gambian koloni Masakunda ni atrese ndemano kana programul mulkenu yese na mbulunke tamandino because shoro Kenya Latina namanke meeting odoronti mbuka program kote keno.
And also if the Gambian people and government can help us so that we will continue the programs that we were carrying out, if we can be helped to be able to carry out those programs because of what we earn now is difficult for us, we will be able to continue.
What sort of global fund project donate ARI?
Because there was a time in the Global Fund program, something called ARI was introduced.
That is Accelerated Result Implementation.
Which is Accelerated Result Implementation.
Kabru onatan tolu sante yalanga sensation okay compound to compound kabrim bakaw for Wellingara.
When that started, we were we were able to carry out sensitizations from Bakau up to Velingara.
Because we currently public speaking law.
Because we taught each other about how to speak in public.
Now funto yatina HIV la janjang sembo talata back.
Because of that sensitization helped to decrease the onset of the HIV disease in the Gambia.
But
since those programs stopped, HIV has started going up again. Some are dying. Because people don't know how to live with HIV, what to do and what not to do.
So Kamala, Meo Dandro Yininkala, Gambiano la Animasa Kundabe.
So I'm appealing to Gambians and the government.
Purkan Sembentuya in Kamala and say no activity or Munke Kenu in say continent.
So that we can continue those activities that we were carrying out. This is what I have to say.
But in Bemun found large Koteke or Munte found Nasivla Kunya or Mumbuldo Cold.
But what I want to add to this is that myself, accommodation for me and my family is the problem.
So, Ninse o Makorostono for Gambiano lom for Mansakundalum, Momo Ning Atraisinde Mano, Yama Purunga Sabati, Lato Muyalum, Fon Talum, Nimbot HIV program or Katana Shul, among the Kata Wandial.
Well, I would like to get that help, whether from an individual Gambian or anybody or the government, so that when I leave the HIV meetings, I can straight ahead, I can straight back to my own home where I can live. Because if I am living in my own compound, nobody will do anything to me or say something to me. My status has made it very difficult for me to live with other people in their compounds.
Yo kamala be TRRC tentula.
Because of that, my sincerest thanks to the TRRC. Especially there is one worker within the TRRC. Personally, I didn't want to come and speak before the TRRC because what I have done, what I have tried, I saw no benefits for it. But that person, the way he talked to me, told me that if I testify in front of the TRRC, that will be a big benefit to the Gambians. That's why, because of that person's appeal to me, this is what inspired me to come and stand and speak before the TRRC. Because there was a push and pull between me and that person, but up to the point that the guy was able to convince me. Then my thanks to that person also. And in Gambia Bay. And the whole Gambia. To my family, my elders, and to my younger ones. The reason why I said I will not speak publicly for people to see me, not because of me, but because of my kids. They are young, they are still young. If their age mates or their peers came to know these people's father is like this and that,
it's stigmatized during classes.
They will be stigmatized during classes.
It concentrate
that will, in fact, make them not to concentrate on their education. It might give them a lot of different thoughts. This is why I was not ready to come and talk here.
But
the person among the TRRC staff who was able to convince me. That's why today, thanks to Allah, I came to sit down here today and testify. My sincerest thanks to that person. And the whole of the Gambia.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Witness. You are very brave and resilient, and made some personal sacrifices. For that, we thank you very much indeed, as well as thanking you for coming to testify before the commission. This brings us to the end of the proceedings today. We will resume tomorrow morning, sharp 10 o'clock. Commissioners, we have a few things to take care of in our conference room, if we can just come around after this meeting. Meeting is adjourned. See you tomorrow morning.